I am Achaleke. Here's my healing drumbeat. My journey from wounds to wholeness. The first day I stepped into a colonial classroom in Fontaine, my Cameroonian village, I was told that my mother tongue was forbidden. My language, the rhythm of my ancestors, was punishable with shame and corporal punishment. That moment planted a wound that festered for decades. Over the 2 decades that followed, I moved through a Eurocentric curriculum designed not to nurture me, but to erase me. 7 years of primary, 7 years of secondary, years at the University of Yaoundé, until I was finally expelled for daring to join the student movement that fought for basic conditions. My early life was not education. It was programming. A colonial script written to keep me inferior, always in search of Western validation, never enough. Then came 2 decades in Europe. Austria, to be precise. 20 years of attempted integration and failed assimilation. I learned to master their systems, their so-called integration programs, their rules. I spoke their language, wore their clothes, studied in their universities, and still, I was never Austrian. I was always the immigrant, the foreigner, the alien. A passport could not erase my melanin. For 2 decades, I carried the contradiction of extreme visibility and extreme invisibility. Visibility because of my skin color, invisible because of systemic exclusions. Showered with awards, 18 of them, that changed nothing of substance. Awards that expected me to be grateful for crumbs while still locking me out of full belonging. The brutality of this awakening was so fragrant, so graceless, so violent that I called it simply, shit happens. That's what I titled my TED Talk. The talk that has since reached 1,000 people across Vienna, Guam, Tokyo, Accra, Harare, and beyond. Many resonated. Some even traveled to find me. A sister from Guam who watched it on her way to Japan eventually visited me in South Africa. Our exchanges birthed not only healing, but books. She's now a serial author and publisher herself. Proof that wounds, when spoken, can ripple healing across oceans. After 20 years of trying to fit into Europe, I left in 6 months. I left behind everything: work, familiarity, even my 2 minor children at that time. With nothing but 2 suitcases and a burning ancestral call, I left for South Africa. No money, no visa, no work contract, just that knowing that Europe was killing my spirit and that I needed to rediscover who I was beyond the colonial script. In South Africa, I entered 7 years of deep search. The land itself was both mirror and wounds, the last bastion of institutionalized racism on the continent. Here, silence and speech were both costly, but here too, my healing found its drumbeat. I birthed the Africa for Smart Kids book series, a lifeline that I didn't know was my own therapy. Each book was me picking up a broken piece of myself, nurturing it back to life, and waving it into wholeness. The series grew, and then miracles. 14 young authors I coached birthed their own books. Today, both their works and mine sit in school libraries across Johannesburg, Gauteng. Gauteng's children now read Afro-centered stories because I refuse to stay silent. That is healing loud enough to echo from Cape Town to Georgetown, from Soweto to Kingston. The journey continued. After the pandemic, I found myself drawn to Sao Tomé and Principe, Africa's second smallest country, an island with a dark ancestral weight. According to Howard French in Born in Blackness, Sao Tomé was the birthplace of systemic African enslavement, the ground zero of institutionalized slavery, white supremacy, and all the colonial evils that followed. Imagine, the island that birthed slavery becoming the island where I, centuries later, was called to heal. There I sank into the deepest layer of myself, stripped bare by frustration, silenced by language barriers, isolated by culture, and shaken by political shifts that crushed every project I tried to birth. What was left was a hollow sense of failure, a spiral of low self-esteem and shadow of imposter syndrome. In desperation, I accepted work far beneath my worth, a role that left me underpaid, disrespected, and drained in a toxic workplace that consumed my spirit. Within 2 months, I walked away. I chose silence. What began as a 1-week retreat into myself stretched into a month of sacred stillness. And then came the breakthrough. The jackpot, quantum healing, ignited through the rebirth of my sacred feminine and the medicine of dream work. Dreams became my medicine. They revealed the entangled knot of colonial toxins still buried deep in my spirit and handed me tools to untie them. In 6 weeks, I quantum jumped realities. I collapsed timelines. I rebirthed not just myself, but 10 powerful healing books and tools, including but not limited to the Grand African Awakening, the African Spiritual System 101, the Grand African Awakening Journal, 30 Days Rediscovering Yourself, a practical tool for healing parent-child relationship, 30-day money liberation tool, sacred womb healing, Ubuntu resurgence, Ubuntu unleashed, among others. I attracted 6 figures worth of coaching and mentorship within just 1 week. My healing was no longer just mine. My legacy was extending across West Africa, East Africa, the Caribbean, and beyond. This healing journey took me even deeper into the inner layers of my bones, exposing my inner money wounds and the urgent need for healing. This led me to craft the Ubuntu Wealth Archetype Solution, a sacred toolkit rooted in Ubuntu and African knowledge systems, designed to help us recognize our money archetypes, the wounds that come with them, and providing a step-by-step guide on how to heal them as we navigate through colonial frameworks, capitalism, migration, parenting, return to our sacred feminineness, healing and restoration to wholeness in the world that thrives on our brokenness. These toolkits and books offer us a pathway and the permission to pause, to find self, and to return to wholeness. And now I know my journey is not a burden. It is a drumbeat. Each phase is rhythm. Cameroon, Austria, South Africa, Sao Tomé. Each wound a bass line. Each healing a crescendo. And now this drumbeat is not just for me. It is an ancestral call for all who are ready to step into their own healing, reclaim their wholeness, and bend realities itself. This is my story. This is my medicine. Now I am ready to place this medicine in your hands through toolkits, mentorship, retreats, and the sacred act of storytelling. Follow me to my website if you are ready to embark on your own healing journey. The drumbeat has spoken. Now it's your turn to rise. If my story stirred something ancient within you, don't let it fade. Visit Achalekes globuntubooks.com, your gateway to tools, books, and blueprints for healing and liberation. Take our Ubuntu Money Archetype quiz and discover how your relationship with abundance and money was shaped by colonial programming and how to reclaim it. Step into my exclusive coaching and mentorship bundles designed for those ready to turn wounds into wisdom and purpose into prosperity. And if you are curating space for transformation, book me for speaking, to guide, to facilitate healing that moves hearts and shifts systems. Time is sacred. Healing delayed is power denied. The drumbeat is rising, and this time the rhythm waits for no one. Meet me where healing and legacy dance at achalekesglobuntu.com and my Buy Me a Coffee space. Because the next revolution is personal, and it begins with you, right here, right now. Because the drumbeat is rising, and it will be heard, and you will be heard. I am Achaleke.